Next, we're going to take a look at the new Spline Resampling tool. And what I want to do is add in a procedural terrain, and I'm going to go ahead and adjust the scale of it to 300 meters by 300 meters. We'll go ahead and make it maybe 50 meters tall. Yeah, 50 meters tall should be good. And just adjust the camera over here. Now what I'm going to do in the top view is use the road tool. So I'm going to create a road and just draw some points along the terrain. And I'm going to go ahead and just click OK and then reopen the spline editor. That way, if I want to undo any changes, I can just hit the X to restore it back to this version. So with the previous tools, or the current tools, there's the pathfinding, which was introduced with the splines, and it allows you to find what would be more of the straighter or not so much straighter, but the more level areas of a terrain to try to generate a path between those points. And now what that will do is drop every single point and basically recreate the entire spline along the geometry. And I'm going to go ahead and cancel this, and we're going to open back up the spline editor. And now we're going to take a look at the new resampling. Resampling, when you click it, gives you the same options as pathfinding, the ability to adjust the distance between 2 points. Now the difference, I'll go ahead and click OK, with the resampling, the points are generated between the existing points, and then they are dropped onto the terrain. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the terrain effect, and we'll bump that up to 4 meters. So if you don't want to use the pathfinding tool to create roads, or what you could do is use pathfinding with a larger distance, and then you can resample to fill in the areas. That way you get a little more control over where you want your splines, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of time generating points. And basically, the points that were originally created are left where they are, and it's just the in-between points that are modified. Just to kind of show that, make it a little more obvious, I'm going to generate another road. Create a few points. Click OK. And select the road and move it above the terrain so that the points are no longer on the terrain. And then we can use the resample. And you'll see that all of the new in-between points are dropped onto the terrain, but the existing points are left where they are, or where they were. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this new spline. And we're going to take a look at another new feature, which is a spline roll. And this works with the terrain effect and the geometry effect. So what we can do is select our spline points. You want to make sure that you're in the local axis mode with the gizmos open. And what we can do is switch to the rotate tool, and you can make the spline bend, and you can roll to the side. And then you can see the terrain also went and recalculated for the roll. So we go back and select another point. We can turn that to the side. So now we can modify the geometry and also the terrain effect in that way. Where before, you couldn't really rotate the effect itself. You could rotate the spline, but it wouldn't actually manipulate the geometry created, whether it's a road or other types of geometry where the roll would be noticeable.